Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to our first webinar following our second UnleashWD conference that finished just about 30 days ago.
Maybe don't be doing that.
So, guys, welcome everybody for being here. I got to tell you something. Can anybody who was with us in Chicago during Unleash, can anybody guess how I'm feeling about this webinar right now? Can anybody guess?
Did you sleep last night?
I am thrilled. Who said it? That's exactly right. I am thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled that you're here, and I'm thrilled that we are going to be chatting here. We, as I mentioned, it's been about 30 days since we all came together. Some of us knew each other. Some of us, most of us did not know each other. We came together and we had these random collisions, all focused on innovation, all focused on how do we take our businesses to the next level to remain relevant, to drive the change that is really needed. We had 17 storytellers, all from outside of the industry, bringing us their insights, their thoughts, their stories of innovation, their stories of culture, leadership, business model design, and more. We left there with tons of ideas. Our minds, I think Doug Jones, you're on the phone with us right now from Heinz. You told me that you had smoke coming out of your ears, on day 2. And it was, we were just filled with tons of ideas. And the question becomes, what do we do with all those ideas? And that's what today is all about. Many of you, after Unleash, went online and were kind enough to provide some feedback to us. And one of the questions we asked you all was, what is one word that you would use to describe the experience of UnleashWD? And what you see on the screen is a representative sampling of how we all left feeling relative to the experience we had at UnleashWD. We thought that it was breakthrough, monumental, outstanding, exciting, valuable, engaging, thought-provoking, outstanding. And I love the bottom right one where some of us are saying this was very needed. It was timely, it was needed, perfect. Now, those are phenomenal. But let me share with you one other word that was described, that was used to describe. And at least one individual left unleashed. And the one word he used to describe the experience was frustrating. And I got to tell you, as the curator of Unleash, I paused there, but then I dug in. And here's what Tony said. I asked, why did he use frustrating? And he said, this was an awesome conference. It really helps you think about possibilities and opportunities to transform an organization. But frustrating from the standpoint about implementation. And guys, I would venture to guess, all of us who left thinking that it was breakthrough, enlightening, exciting, outstanding, I would venture to guess that all of us, or most of us, I see you shaking your head, yes, Avery, right? We're certainly feeling some of this level of frustration. How do we take all these great ideas and begin driving change? And again, that's what today is all about. So we've got 4 phenomenal individuals I'm going to introduce you to. You see everybody on the screen, and we're going to ask them to share with us, 4 questions. And as Chris and Paul and Avery and Jerry are sharing these ideas, please use your question mode. You can type questions in the question box. Margie will bring those into me, and we'll be able to bring questions to the panel. But we want to say, hey, what were your key takeaways? How did this apply to your business? And what actions have you been able to break through that frustration and take an action in the last 30 days? And then we'd love to hear some of the plans and thinking going forward so that we can all learn from each other. So who are the 4 individuals that we're going to be talking to? Look at this great panel. I'm honored to be with these 4 individuals. So first, we've got Chris Brown with us, the CEO of Weidenbach Brown. Chris, why don't you wave hi to everybody? Chris, thanks for being here, bud. Yeah. Hey, and then we got Paul Raich for the president of Ceratec up in the Montreal, Quebec area. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We've got Avery Gladwitz, the leader of the Chicks in Pink that we'll all remember, right? Every catalyst of crazy, there she is, thank you. And then we've got Jerry Troke, the VP of Marketing Product Development at Heat Controllers over in Jackson, Michigan. There he is. Look at that. Welcome, guys.
Good afternoon.
It is up there. It is afternoon. Thank you.
I want to know if Catalyst of Crazy is actually Avery's real title.
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Avery, when did you become Catalyst of Crazy?
Well, I was the creator of Crazy for the longest time, and then I listened to Saul Kaplan's presentation from last year's Unleash,
yeah,
and came up with the Catalyst of Crazy because I realized I needed to shift my position and spend less time doing and more time just setting things off and getting things into action.
Love it. Cool. Thank you. All right. So why don't we just go around the horn real quick and introduce ourselves so that everybody gets a little feel for who we have. And Chris, why don't you introduce yourself and a little bit about your company and the like.
Sure. Chris Brown. I'm CEO of Wiedenbach Brown. We are a 100-year-old lighting distributor. We specialize in national account retail primarily, a lot of commercial construction. We do lighting retrofits all over the country. We've got about 100 employees, have 10 offices around the country. We have an electrical services group, and we are being challenged by the impact of solid-state lighting, and particularly LEDs right now in terms of direction for our business. And Avery, I'm going to take a lead from you. My title is CEO, but I'm thinking of changing it to CCO, Chief Chaos Officer, because coming out of Unleash, I feel a need to create some chaos. Just another 30 seconds.
Yeah. I
sold the business 6 years ago to U.S. Electric Services. They, in turn, were bought by the family that owned CED, Consolidated Electric. So we're now part of a $4, $5, $6 billion organization. But we still run pretty much autonomously. We've created a great niche in national account retail. A part of that, and I'll talk about this later, a part of that is our MRO business, a significant part of our business, the daily replenishment of light bulbs to the ceilings of stores like Abercrombie & Fitch and Victoria's Secret and Gap, etc. And that business is being seriously challenged now by LED, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on.
Chris, thank you. Welcome, man. Hey, man, when the president CEO of the company says he needs to create chaos, man, I know that I can learn from you. I want to get inside that head and learn from you. And hearing about the challenges of LED, I think I'm sorry that I talked about you at the Unleash conference. But Chris, thanks for being here, bud.
Sure.
Hey, Paul, how about yourself in Ceratec, man?
Well, I'm the CEO of Ceratec. I'm not going to change my title per se, but I keep on saying that I need to create crisis, and I say it seems only when we are in a state of crisis that we seem to focus on some of the items that I've been suggesting for years in some cases. We're in the importation of ceramic tiles, so we sell to floor stores. We sell to box stores. In Canada, we have a variety of brands of box stores, not just Home and Lowe's. We don't sell into those box stores, but we sell into the other Canadian brands, Rona in particular. And we service floor stores and box stores and builders, B2B business. We do have showrooms, but we don't do any branding whatsoever towards the C. So we're really there to support the retailers.
Cool. Love it. Paul, thank you. And I got a little place in my heart for your industry. I broke into my business career with H.B. Fuller, selling adhesives and caulks and sealants through distributors and dealers and the like. So it's great to connect with you, and love what you've been doing since Unleashed. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Avery. Look at those nails. Huh?
Inspirational.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about
Probably a
yourself.
good picture.
Pardon me?
Sorry, that's probably a good picture because it's got a shooting star on there, and I'm the catalyst of crazy. My grandpa would always say I lived in the stars, but it's better to aim for the stars and land on the moon than shoot for the barn door and end up somewhere else. So
You bet.
I would say I'm an aspiring visionary in our company. I have a lot to learn. I would still consider Nail Innovations to be in the startup phase,
Okay.
very much so. And our company is a network of people who strongly believe in our company vision, which is improving lives. And we improve lives through business opportunities in the world of nails. So the beauty industry is the vehicle that we're going to use to achieve our vision.
Love it.
And we're looking at how we can help people improve their lives on within their families, within their communities, within their countries.
Wonderful.
That's our big picture.
Shoot. I love how high you're shooting, Avery. Great stuff. Thank you. And then Jerry, how about yourself, man?
Well, I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Product Development for a small manufacturer of HVAC equipment, furnaces, air conditioners. We actually run the gamut from small portable dehumidifiers to multi-ton rooftop equipment. We have the broadest product line in our industry of any of our competitors, although we're not nearly their size in most cases. My responsibilities run the gamut from the normal portfolio of marketing kind of things, and as well as all of our product management activities and interacting with our contract manufacturers, etc. So we are a manufacturer who doesn't actually have factory space. We contract all of our manufacturing. That we think that keeps us more nimble and able to respond to market needs and take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves. But it does put us in a position of being a reseller of sorts, and therefore we have to add value to those products that we resell. And my concern is always, in the niche we play in, how long will there be room for a company like us? So, creating some chaos and disrupting the thinking patterns about our business model is something that's been on my mind, not only in this current position in this company, but in the various industries that I've been in for a long time. One of the slides later on talks about, the worst curse is 20 years in a row of great success,
right?
Because that makes you complacent.
You bet.
The occasional hiccup in your business model causes time for reflection and uncovers a multitude of sins in many cases, and we need to take advantage of those instead of cursing them.
Wow, no doubt about it. Hey guys, just listening to your introductions, let's get into it, right? Let's get into it, because there's just a wealth of information and not enough time to talk about it. So, what we're really interested in is helping each other, those of us on this webinar, helping the Unleashed community really start thinking about, okay, we came away with all these ideas. What resonated with you and your business, and what have you done in the last 30 days with some of these ideas to break through that frustration, if you don't mind? So, Chris, do you mind if we start with you?
Not at all.
Yeah, we'd love to just hear about some of the takeaways that you left Unleashed with, how they applied to your business, and maybe some of the things that you've done over the last 30 days.
Sure. So I had a full page, actually a couple pages of takeaways, and these were just my little bullet points, but I narrowed it down to these 5 that I think are going to drive every effort that I'm going to make to create chaos and to create some change. The first, and it was also in the fellow that wrote about frustration, the phrase "tyranny of the urgent" has resonated hugely with me, because I think all of us are consumed with today, and our planning may go to tonight and tomorrow and the next day, but it doesn't go much. We just don't allow ourselves the time to think. And one of the things I like about Unleash and about BIF that I went to also this year is it causes me to have to think, because I'm sitting there in such a stimulating, energizing situation. So, but that's a message that I want to take to people. You got to make time to think. We got to build it into our daily lives. I love the idea that you become the disruptor or prepare to be disrupted. That's what's going on in my business right now with LEDs, and it's a huge transformation in the industry going on. Technology alone the technology change is enormous. This is truly a disruptive technology, but I think it's also destructive, and I can talk about that in a couple of minutes. We have new technology, new players. We've got the gorillas coming in from the Far East, Toshiba, and Panasonic, and Samsung coming into our nice old traditional domestic lighting business with
Yep.
Philips and GE in Sylvania. And that leads to this other thing, and I've used this phrase a couple of times. Some folks are already out of business, they just don't know it yet. And that's going to apply to people, particularly on the MRO side of light bulb replacement, and there are thousands of people in that business. And then, not related so much to my business, but I'm going to try and make it. I'd seen Angela first at BIF and then last week or last month in Chicago. And that question that she asked, what breaks your heart, I think is a dynamite question. And I have gone so far, I've asked my children and I've asked my siblings about that as we prepare for the holidays and trying to decide what we're going to do as a family. I just think that's a great question. But my real challenge is to take that back to WB and see if we can create some kind of momentum for some charity, some volunteer organization locally to each of our 10 offices. And anyway, it's not so much a business question, but one that really resonated and stayed with me.
Thank you. I think there is. You say it doesn't really relate to business, but I think it does. You know, as much as we heard about culture at Unleash and everywhere else, right? I think if you're going to attack that question with your company at WB, what breaks your heart, to see how we can give back. You know, to me, that's probably all part of the culture of pulling people into the vision and the like. Guys, any thoughts or questions for Chris relative to his takeaways?
Let me just comment on his fourth bullet there. That some folks are already out of business and just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that's what keeps me awake at night. You talk about what breaks your heart is, you know, what is the viability of our business model? Because that's usually what that thing is what that question is at the core of. I've been through a couple or three lives in various industries, and one of the companies I worked for when I first left college was an automation firm that was ultimately acquired by Rockwell International. In 1985, Rockwell International was the largest multinational defense contractor in probably the entire country.
Yeah.
They were the assembler of the B-1 bomber. They did lots of government work, etc. And if you remember when 1985 was, it was Reagan's presidency. We were in the midst of the largest defense-related buildup in the history of the world. That year, the board of directors of Rockwell Automation said, we don't think this is going to last. And they acquired the company that I worked for as the first step in a process that ultimately remade them into an automation business that is what they are today. They sold off or spun off all of those businesses that they were in and got into a completely new business. Rockwell of 20 years ago is not Rockwell of today. And that's related to a business model issue that they saw the tsunami coming and recognized that their business model was not going to be viable going forward. I don't know who was on their board when they made that decision, but that kind of visionary thinking as it relates to business model and what threats are out there is the thing that you need to take the time to do, to use Chris's second bullet, and make sure that you're not obsoleted by changes in the industry. I can see, based on having been in the electrical industry, that Chris's struggle with the new LED technologies is a big one like that. But there are ultimately things that have happened in many industries that have obsoleted things, products, business models, etc. And that's the part that when you think about people that are out of business and don't know it yet, that may be after a 20-year run.
Yeah.
And we have to be aware of that.
Wow. Jerry, that's interesting. I never knew that story about Rockwell, so thank you for sharing that. And it one of the other great stories that I think about is, Encyclopedia Britannica, after 244 years of great legacy and, emotional connection to a product, the CEO of that company several years ago had to pull that printed, product. And the sales were, of course, declining and all that, but that had to be a damn tough decision, right? And somebody had to have the vision and the courage to do that. And I'm sure just like the people at Rockwell. Great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff. Hey, Chris, how about what have you done since, if you don't mind? I love the takeaways, the conversations that you're starting. I know you went out to Portland and all this, and it's one of the things that you've done. Would you mind sharing that story with us?
So there was a Department of Energy solid state lighting conference in Portland, and I was asked to speak on the impact of solid state lighting on distribution. And I'll tell you my conclusion, and these are two words I'd never used together before, but the conclusion of my presentation was lighting is exciting. That wasn't the case for basically the history of lighting, but all of the things that are going on right now are exciting. But there's also, put my Chicken Little hat on here, there's also storm clouds coming. And think of a simple example, and I'm going to talk in black and white here, so bear with me, but we supply, and we like to think that we own a certain number of sockets in the ceilings of our customers. Okay, we supply them product on a daily basis.
Yeah.
The more successful I am selling solid state LED product, which is a 50,000 hour product replacing a 2,000 hour product.
Yeah.
The sooner I put myself out of business in that socket or that store or with that company. So there's some huge irony there.
Sure.
But we've got to find a way to stay relevant to that client, and that's where this presentation I made and the preparation I did at both BIF and Unleash and thinking about it is leading me to what I hope is going to be a successful plan and program to transition us from selling lighting products as a commodity to selling light. And that's a whole new concept, and it's not original with me, but it's something that's starting to gain some traction in the industry. We've got to bring additional solutions to our clients that keep us relevant, keep us informed of the client. And
Chris,
not that those sockets are all going away in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, but they're going away. It's a question of not if, but when.
Chris, what do you mean by you need to move from selling, what did you say, selling light components to selling light? What?
That's what I'm working on. Okay, the idea that we could come up with a program, a process to provide the light, the required lighting in a space, whether it's commercial or retail, and do it without the necessity every day that we have of selling commodity products. Basically, it's taking us out of a commodity, bringing us into a much more of a specialized industry. And I know we're going to talk about things like Amazon and its threat to distribution. That's also part of what I'm thinking, that there are going to be a lot of people who can, or not a lot, there are people who can do some of the logistical aspects of our distribution business better, faster, cheaper than we can. If you saw 60 Minutes on Sunday night, you saw that Amazon moves a package, you click your one click, and 2 hours later it's on a truck. That's pretty impressive stuff. So,
no doubt
so
about it.
I'm talking about a concept that I'm going to work on, and we're going to work on, to take us out of commodity, everyday lighting product business.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure.
You know, Chris, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump ahead here real quick. Yesterday, a number of us went out to Cleveland, Ohio, and met with Matt Havlin. Do you guys remember Matt?
Yeah.
From Thogus, right? And we went out, and 2.5 hours we spent with Matt. And a couple things real quick, Chris, to what you said. You know, you said you ended your presentation with lighting is exciting, right? Well, Matt is making manufacturing sexy. Those are my words, right? And so taking an old industry like lighting or manufacturing and just, changing it and, making it sexy and exciting again, I think is, requires a hell of a lot of great leadership from the likes of yourself and Matt. And the other thing he said that ties to you, you're, moving away from, getting out of the business of selling a commodity. What he talked a lot about yesterday was, transitioning his business from selling a transaction to looking for the annuity and building a business model around that. And it sounds like you're thinking a lot in the same way. So
I think I need to speak to him.
Yeah, very, very cool. So appreciate it. In fact, we're working with Matt to bring a group of unleashers, if you will, to go take a look at that a little bit formally. So, Chris, thank you. I know that we could spend a lot more time. If you don't mind, let's jump over to Paul. Paul, how are you, man, again?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you.
I saw you shaking your head and smiling a little bit as we were listening to Chris.
I didn't do the check mark for the that trip, but I am thinking of it, and I should probably get back to you on that. To that particular part of the trip, that visit with Matt.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll end with, we've got a certain date for blinds.com right now. We're working potentially with Thogus. We'll let everybody know when that actually comes together. So that's awesome. So Paul, how about you, man? You and I had dinner on Tuesday night together of Unleash. Had a great conversation at dinner, and the thinking that the thinker that you are just totally impresses me. And I know that you have been doing a ton since Unleash. And would you mind just sharing with us some of the key thoughts and takeaways that you've had and the relevancy to your business and the like?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Well, what I'm doing right now, I got some, I mean, I love my direct reports, my management team. A lot of them have been here for 10 years, so their paradigms are forged. This vision, I've been communicating to them for a year, and it's taken about a year for them to at least say, yeah, I believe in that. But between the belief and engaging and communicating is this incredible chasm. And in that last HBR article that you referred us to, I love the statement, fake it till you make it. Paradigms can only be formed if you actually behave them. You actually have to decide to disbelieve your current model and take that experimental risk towards believing something that you may not, and to engage in that behavior forges those paradigms. So,
Paul, I love it. If I can real quick, you have to disbelieve your current model. That is a strong statement, right? And I've heard it say another way, to look at your business as if you've never seen it before. I think you're saying the same thing, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the thing is I'm working on a culture shift program right now, where the values become really at the center of what we do, how we hire, and these values are now being presented, and it's a participative meeting. I meet 8-10 employees at a time. I'll have put in around 40 hours by the time it's done. The meeting lasts an hour and 15 minutes. I put all the 5 values up on the wall. I ask them to choose one that means something to them, and they start the meeting. And we go around the table and they share with the group what that value means to them. And I try to pull as much of their content together to then actually present the actual values. And I'm using examples from Jay and from Unleash, and the time that I spent at Unleashed and sending employees to business model generation, just the investment we're making in trying to create a culture of innovation. And that's really what this shift is called. It's called the culture of trust and innovation through collaboration, but it's not our normal models. This is not who we are. So if my team doesn't engage and communicate, I'd be blowing hot air out, you know what. And so what I've had to do is I've had to hire our sales consultant we've been working with. He's going to be in charge of organizational development, and we've hired an HR girl who worked for Oxfam for 10 years, which is a learning organization. She's absolutely crazy passionate about this stuff. When I met her, she was like super sexy to my neurons, you know. So I need these people also, because finally I have some people who can assist my team in trying to engage in these values and to allow our to empower employees. And last little thing, because I can just go on and on. One of our values is transparency, and transparency is the only way to actually build trust. If your employees trust you, they will become more engaged, and they will take the risk of presenting an idea. It's really nice to have that huge glass vase full of marbles, but you have to initiate that somehow, and it's only through transparent communications to build that trust to start to take those risks.
Boy, neat stuff, man. I don't know if I want to make a joke about human resources and sexy to your neurons, but what was your values based on? I didn't capture that whole thing. A culture of trust and blank through innovation.
It's a culture of trust and innovation through collaboration.
And innovate. Got it. Cool. You know, I love, you know, how what I think I've heard you say is you're starting this culture shift, and it's all based on your values. And did I hear you right too that you've made a decision and you've started in the last 30 days that you're meeting with every employee in the company? Did I hear that from top to bottom in groups of 5 or 7?
8 to 10 employees, and mixed groups, obviously, because the operations need to roll. But the default benefit of that is you have people who've never sat at the table talking to each other.
Yeah. And you're letting
Not
them
unlike
lead.
Unleashed.
Yes, absolutely.
Not unlike Unleashed.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of the need to talk across industries, because we face challenges at different rates and at different points in time, and if we're not learning from each other, then we are likely to be potentially overwhelmed by a challenge that some other industry who's further ahead of us successfully overcame. So inside of a business, you have a microcosm of that same thing, where an insight into what's happening out on the plant floor could be had by a marketing person or vice versa or whatever. Cross-pollination is the name of the game. We do business with a lot of Asian vendors, and they are at a place where we were back in the 70s in terms of the silos of organization, and it's almost painful in some ways to see the results of that. And you need to. I really appreciate your effort to do that internal to the company, because if you knock down those silos, it makes a huge difference in the ease of communication and the building of trust.
Absolutely, and I am spending a lot of time outside the business, visiting U.S. distributors in my field, also figuring out what's going on in Clarksville, Tennessee, with the manufacturers. And I got to meet the president of a manufacturer there, who's an Italian gentleman, and I asked the question, where do you see distribution going? Are we going to become strictly a service provider based on a low-cost supply chain, or can we add value? And he thought the question was absolutely relevant. He didn't have an answer, but he always said that, he said to me, though, with quite amount of conviction, that if a distributor can add value, there's always a place for that. So when I hear what some of the distributors they're trying to do, and even Matt, what he's done, all I'm hearing are more sophisticated products, that those that have an incredibly efficient supply chain to deliver the cheapest components, they won't go there, because their reason for existing, like Amazon, is becoming a delivery business. I don't see it. It's going to deliver everything. And I heard from one gentleman that was there that works in the electrical components industry that a client had called him for a price on an article. He got back to the client, and the client said, I bought it on Amazon.
Yeah.
So,
Paul,
there's a lot of threats out there.
You betcha. And that question you asked, with all those threats out there, that question that you asked, that manufacturer, where does he see distribution going, right? Are we going to be able to remain relevant and the like? And I think I heard you say, as long as you find ways to create value, there's going to be those opportunities. It reminds me of a conversation that I had with the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar distributorship, and the CEO had mentioned that she had been approached by their largest customer, and manufacturer. They said distribution as we know it is dead. And so I drilled down with the VP in that company and said, what does that mean? And they said, it's things like, the value proposition of distribution historically has been based on our logistics, and it's been based on our ability to transfer knowledge at that local level. Well, with technology now evening the game, right, of logistics and sharing of knowledge through the internet, we need to find those new ways to create new models to provide new ways of value, because the value proposition of the traditional distributor in the past is potentially not as relevant as in the past. And I love the fact that you're proactively, you might not have the answer right now, right, if I heard you right, but you're proactively, daily basis, thinking about what does that new model need to look like.
Well, one question, just to close the story with this gentleman, I asked him, because distribution in our industry changed in Europe. So I asked him, tell me the story about what went on in Europe. And he explained it to me, and a lot of distributors fell. And I said, who survived? And he gave me the name of a distributor in Belgium. So they survive based on the value they add to their clients. So who do you think I'm going to visit on the way to Europe next time?
No
It's
doubt.
a wise choice.
You
I
bet.
think that's where the key probably lies, Paul, when you said it, adding value to their clients. We have to look at who our customers are, and our customers have customers. So it's a matter of partnering with our customers who are supplying to the end user to find ways to help them deliver their business more successfully, and forging those relationships with the people that we work directly with, so that we can improve the lives of the people, by extension, the end user.
Great
Do I have room to
insight.
say something else?
Pardon me?
Do I have a little room to say something else?
You do, and then say that little thing, and then I also want you to tell us about the tool that you took from Ron Ashkanis and utilized.
Okay. Well, right now we're thinking, because I sent 11 employees to business model generation with the hope that 4 would come back really passionate about the vocabulary and start to think that way. And already we're coming up with a business model, and we're thinking about the lean startup. So of course we're into reading Steve Blank, and I've almost finished a little black book on innovation. This particular business model may destroy our business model, but I think it serves a part of the market that we can't even serve at this point.
The business model that you're processing and building through right now, you think could cannibalize your current business? Is that what you just said?
It could, because if we don't figure out how to add value and reduce costs in this current model, this model is going to expire.
Yeah, yeah. And are 4 of the 11 managers, do you think are behind you and working through this? Is that what I heard?
Well, the goal was to try and get a handful of, because I hate having knowledge by myself. You're just so lonely with that knowledge, and when people look at you like a Martian. So if you can share and they can learn the vocabulary, then you're able to pool into people's ideas and passions. So you have to share that.
Yeah.
And there's 4 of them that are really eating this stuff up, and so we're coming up with this idea for, it's really based on a portal too.
Love it. You know, and if you don't mind, Paul, I wrote down 3 words that you started off with. Paradigms are forged, right? And as you bring these new this new thinking and the culture shift and the thought of a new business model, in all of our businesses, I think some are going to get it and some are going to pray for remaining the way it is, and surrounding ourselves with those who are ready to unforge. Is that a word? To unforge.
It is
I'll
now.
tell you one thing. I'm all for change, but you first.
Yeah. Look in the mirror. Yeah. Or were you saying Dirk first?
No, I'm saying it's kind of like people say they're for change, but they're not. So it's kind of like I'm all for change, you first.
No doubt. Well said. Hey, real quick, Paul. I think you did take this tool from Ron Ashkanis and actually used it in the organization. Would you just share that story real quick, and then we'll go to Avery?
Disaster.
It was a disaster.
Yeah, and I think the one point that there's 2 things that I really focused in on there is developing a program to help people, managers, become innovation leaders. That's the key part. And so when I responded to your email, I talked about something that we're looking at for 2015, because we've got our ERP project. We're just overloaded with stuff right now. And one of them is to try and figure out how to give managers the capacity to think with a lean startup approach. So they need training on this stuff to stop sticking in their offices, falling in love with their ideas, accepting the fact that it's going to fail, and to spawn the idea quickly according to the customer development process and lean startup and all that great
Sure.
stuff, you know?
Love it. Hey, real quick, what did you mean by this being a disaster?
Most of the responses were definitely to some extent.
Got it. So it raised the consciousness that there are all these barriers to innovation within your organization.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, as you contemplate that, I'm going to move on. Okay. So, Paul, thank you. Great stuff. Avery, again, guys, boy, your activeness at Unleash, after Unleash, Avery, I know you soak this stuff up. You're driving change. Love to hear from your perspective some of the key takeaways. and I had to look deep into my program for the pink font, but I found it for you.
It's close. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, close. It's pink to me.
It's good. It's very good.
All right. Thanks.
So yeah, our key takeaways were creating an environment for people to flourish.
Yep.
We recognize that we need to start innovating everything, our products, operations, and business model, and as well as a need that innovation needs to be a constant process for renewal. And so these applied to our business because the environment for people to flourish, like Paul was talking about, becoming people looking at you like you're a Martian. And I knew that it was necessary to create this environment for people to flourish, and I tried multiple different ways to create that environment and didn't feel like anything really stuck. So when we saw the webinar for Unleash, it was like, I think this is it. I had such a good feeling about it. And either we heard the answers to the questions that we had about how do we develop that environment, either it was something direct that we were able to take and adopt, or it was some other idea that came from one of the presenters or from a random collision that we were able to take some information and translate it, and how can we create that environment within our company. Innovating everything, it's sort of, I think, a given for the most part that most companies are innovating their products on a regular basis. That's kind of a standard thing.
Yep.
And we're very innovative with our services and our education. We're innovative with our operations. We're innovative with. When it came to the realization that we have to be innovative on our business model, it's like I realized that our business model is sort of like a figment of our imagination. We don't have anything actually on paper.
Yeah.
And so how much more clarity can we gain if we put all this onto paper and we collaborate on it? And because instead of it just being some organized chaos in our head, let's get it down and do something with it. So
hey, and Avery, if you don't mind, I'm going to interrupt. Sorry, I jumped ahead, and getting something down on paper. What I put up on the screen is actually Alex Osterwild's business model canvas, and it looks like you said, "Oh shoot, we don't have a business model. We haven't defined it," and it looks like you've actually started doing some work defining it.
So,
I don't know if I could call that on paper, but on paper.
You really do look like a Martian.
Who does?
I do. All by myself. Well, we had a group of, we got our girls together. We had our annual innovation summit, and we started with small focus groups and looked at each section of the business model. We looked at multiple things. One of the things we worked on was our business model. And so we talked in small groups and then combined all of our thoughts and then put them onto this. And what we've done since then is kind of go through and organize all those things, and now we've got it into Word documents, and so we're getting it to a point where we can really do something with it. Paul, thank you, because Paul was, I probably scared him. I sort of asked him, would you be my mentor? Because I could see that this guy can learn so much from him, and he's given me so much homework. It's been amazing.
Really?
The business model generation, that book, and game storming. That's where if you guys want to invest in something, invest in 3M, because the sticky note, post-it note, I'm going to be buying. We're going to be buying a lot of them. I don't write anything on anything but a sticky note anymore. It's
that was an accident.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. It's such a good idea. And some of the best, that's an example of one of the best mistakes ever, right?
Yeah.
The sticky note.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Avery, Avery, I'm going to jump in. Guys, isn't this the coolest, what I just heard? Isn't this just the coolest? That out of nowhere, right, we came to Chicago, and here's Paul, who's running, who's trying to think through, how the hell do I take this legacy ceramic tile distributorship, right, and recreate it for the future. And then here's Avery, who is she's saying in a startup mode, has 30 partners, if you will, right, in this business model. You guys came together, you collided, And Paul has raised his hand, if I just heard you right, and said, yeah, I'll mentor you, and has been working with you. Two completely different businesses, two completely different mindsets, I don't know if mindsets are the right word, but you've had two different views of the world and of business, and you guys have come together in the last 30 days in that way. Hell, congratulations to both of you. I think that's hot. I think it's cool. And thank you to both of you for doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's about the best human practices, and I can't remember who said that, but it's not just what's the best industry practice, but what's the best human practice, because that's something that's going to transcend any industry.
Yeah, you betcha. Love it. Love it.
So we talked about another key takeaway was innovating everything. That was our business model.
Yeah.
And then as far as innovation as a constant process for renewal, the awareness that we have to cast a compelling vision. Our business model can be part of that vision, and we've got all kinds of things in place to keep us innovating our products, our operations, our business model, our culture as well, and our vision.
Wow. Catalyst of crazy? Is that it?
Yes.
And when you say you're doing all these things, man, it sounds like you're crazy good. Sounds like you're crazy good, Avery.
Thanks.
Yeah. And look at this. Can you tell us about this picture? Was this towards
This was at the end of the workshop. We're already taking everything down, and I don't know how many times I just absolute full-bodied goosebumps as the women in our organization that attended this function, and some of the ideas that they came up with to improving lives, and the sticky note to the top left there was what we believe in our company, and one side was what we believe in business and what we believe in life, and everything was across the board. Everything was sort of down the center, and then we had to just spread it out because our core values are similar, so our beliefs are similar, and everybody in our organization is tied to improving the lives at every level, whether it's the end user, the vendor, the manufacturer, everybody.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing.
Love it. Love it. How long? Yeah, go ahead.
No, this is Chris. You know, thinking or listening to Paul and then to Avery, I remember somebody else mentioned something about dismantling the Office of Innovation Prevention.
Yes.
Find the doctor knows in your organization and act accordingly. I thought that was a great one, though. That would have been my sixth takeaway.
No
Dismantle
doubt.
the Office of Innovation Prevention.
And did you find the doctors of no?
Yeah. Find the doctor knows in your organization, and those are the people that you don't need if you're going to create a culture of innovation. You do need people that are going to challenge you, and I don't mind ever being challenged, but there are some people who are no right out of the gate.
Whose paradigms are so forged, right, Chris? Whose paradigms are so forged, they ain't going to change.
I think sometimes you need those devil's advocates, but they need to be brought into a context which allows them to allow the improvisation to happen. In other words, I love the idea, accept every offer and plus it. After you've created the image of what's possible, let's call the possibilities, after that you can go into the phase where you say, okay, well, for this to be real, what makes you uncomfortable about this being real? And then somebody at that point, the naysayers can say, I would be comfortable with that vision if such and such changed.
Yeah.
And that's a totally different approach.
You bet. You bet. Great insight. Avery, thank you so much. Thanks. Hey, let's jump over to Jerry. So I know Angela Harris is on the phone or the webinar from Distribution Center Magazine. Hello, Angela. Thanks for joining us. And hot off the press, she has just written a great article on what she experienced at UnleashWD. And I really encourage you, even if you're not in the HVAC industry, go and get this magazine, Distribution Center Magazine. It continually writes about best practices and how businesses are innovating and like. So thank you for this. But the reason I put it up is, Jerry, do you see who is front and center in that photo there?
I do.
Yeah. I guess she went and found out who looks least like a Martian. He who would sell more magazines than anybody else, and she puts me right there.
You know, you and I have had several conversations about the issue of being able to make comparisons between industries.
Yep.
I've got an analogy that I've told you. I call it my train analogy, and I won't go into that here. But UnleashWD is the embodiment of cutting across industries that I have been talking about for 15 years. The fact that Distribution Center and the HVAC News, which it is a bigger part of, picked up on this concept very early on, is I think very important. Dirk and I have been talking about how do we get this message to our main industry organization, distributor-based industry organization. Distribution Center is the industry magazine of an organization called Hardy, the Heating, Air Conditioning, Refrigeration Distributors International. And someone one of the storytellers when we were in Chicago together talked about the fact, maybe it was Dirk actually that brought this up initially, that when we go to events, we typically go to collaborative events that rotate around our own industry. So we're talking to people who know things about our industry, who are facing the same challenges, and certainly there's a legitimacy to looking at the ways that others who are facing exactly what you're facing are doing in order to get over those hurdles. However, the importance of Unleashed and the importance of looking well beyond our boundaries rotates around the fact that we don't know what our next challenge is going to be necessarily. We know what our current challenge is. We know what we're under the tyranny of in terms of urgent issues that we're facing today. But the thing that may obsolete our business model isn't necessarily even something that's on the radar screen for us today. It's a challenge that's out there that may overwhelm us like a tsunami without us even being aware of it before it arrives. That's the huge issue. I sat in that audience in Chicago and listened to the participant who was talking about being a part of an Amazon board meeting where they articulated there that they feel their inability to deliver expertise, knowledge effectively is the only thing that's holding them back. Paul, I appreciate your comments regarding, them developing into a logistics provider, but the fact of the matter is they actually warehouse and ship a whole lot of stuff as well. And they are a formidable foe. Dirk talked about the fact.
Actually, was there in the business of delivery, and now they got these little planes, that they're
right. Exactly. They showed them on 60 Minutes the other night. If they ever get that technology up and running, we're all going to be in trouble.
A pallet of tiles, thankfully, is very heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. You got to have a really big drone in order to deliver that. I appreciate that. So we need to arm ourselves. It falls back in that category of delivering value. That seems to be the common denominator of success of those who are in industries, particularly within wholesale distribution, that are continuing to be successful regardless of what's transpiring around them. And it all involves around delivering value. So our key takeaways, we came together in a brainstorming session and tried not to have the abominable no man present in those brainstorming sessions. This is a stock photo, so it doesn't necessarily reflect us. But we did that kind of thing, and we came away with 4 or 5 sheets full of stuff that we feel are issues that we can address, and we'll come back together in the very near future to begin the process of culling those down. But one of the things that we saw very clearly is that we need to be purveyors of knowledge, either training or knowledge about our products that we can deliver as a part of our sales process, etc. I found very interesting Dirk's comments about putting Amazon or putting all of these names of companies in a word cloud. You may recall that comment, and the only 2 that popped up with any frequency were Amazon and Grainger. The following week, we had a news article that came through that Lou Rasmussen, our president, actually received via email that talked about Grainger looking at Amazon as their main competitor. Wow. Here's a bricks and mortar industrial supplies company that looks at Amazon as being their main competitor. Well, yeah, if they're the only ones that pop up in the word cloud, and in the wholesale delivery, wholesale distribution of products, that's why they are their main competitor. So the historical paradigms that we're in and who we look at as our competitors are going by the wayside. You skip down to my third bullet point there, the importance of looking beyond the usual suspects.
Yep.
The things that we look at as our key issues in our industry and in how if we could improve there, that would make the big deal. You got to look beyond those in order to get beyond what's happening within your industry to the paradigm that may be coming that will obsolete where you are in your industry.
Yeah.
And therefore that second bullet there, sharing what's going on, sharing the risks that we face across multiple industries, that is huge. I told Dirk that I want to be a catalyst to get his message out to the HVAC industry, and we've got an industry event, our annual conference coming up here. Actually, we leave on Saturday, day after tomorrow, to go to this event next week, and I want to help Angela deliver the message to our participants out there that we need to be listening to this kind of input from other industries in order to help ensure that we don't get buried by something we don't even know is out there.
You bet. You bet. Jerry, great stuff, man. Thank you. And the fact that you guys have gone back, there were 5 or 6 of you from Heat Controllers at Unleashed. You've come back, you've put it all together, and you guys are thinking about this as deeply as anybody. And
Paul talked about sending guys out to get this common language, etc. Having some people catch the vision, so to speak. We had people at the first Unleashed last year and brought a broader spectrum of people from the company this year for exactly that purpose, to have everybody understand what was going on and the value of the collaborative nature of Unleashed. And I think that was a very good call by Lou, our president, to actually expand that circle of participants.
Yeah. Love it, guys.
That's a key takeaway from this session, I think, and for anybody that's planning to attend next year, is to take as many people in your organization back with you as you can.
Cross-discipline.
Yeah. Love it. Hey, guys, thank you so much. We're up on the hour that we've asked of you and of everybody else. I don't know about you. I could go on for a couple more hours.
More days. Yeah.
You're right. It's unbelievable, the things we're learning. Just real quick, I didn't write them all, but I heard words like disruptive and the viability and relevancy and our business models and forged paradigms, and the fact that you all are not just going to a 2-day summit and then saying that was nice, but where do we go? The fact that you guys are leading. You guys are stepping out on the edge, not knowing what the answers are, but you guys are going to the edge, looking for the answers, looking for what is next. I think
we're looking for the questions.
Yeah, well said.
We're looking for the questions.
Well said, Jerry. That to me is inspiring as hell, right? And as we at Unleash, what we want to do, guys, is we want to continue to bring us together. I know that there's others on this call right now that we can't see on video that have done similar things to you. And I have an open invitation. We want to be that catalyst to bring us together as often as we want to have these types of conversations. Real quick, I did mention that yesterday we were out in Cleveland and we were with Matt Havlin, and I call it a Havlinism. He doesn't know this yet, but in the 2 hours, he kept talking about the art of what's possible. That's what he is all about at Thogus, the art of what's possible. And when I hear what the 4 of you are doing, as you said, Jerry, we're looking for the questions to ask in our ongoing effort to find out what is possible as leaders of our organization and our organization, and taking our organizations into the future. Couple things real quick. You might want to write down, I don't have a slide for it, but on December 17th, we're going to have another webinar with a storyteller from 2012 by the name of Bill Poutsis. He's just come out with a great new book titled Compete Smarter, not harder. I'm 3/4 of the way through it. A lot of great insights on it. I want to bring that to the Unleashed community December 17th. Also, one of the things that we have done is a lot of people have said that they've got so much from Jay at Blinds.com, and we have worked with Blinds.com. We carved in stone the date of March 6th, where Unleash is going to be bringing a community of 20 individuals. We got room for 20 individuals to come down and spend a day immersing ourselves in how Jay has in fact taken his organization from a 1,000-square-foot organization to what it's become. Here's what the day is going to look like. We're going to spend the morning with Jay and his management team, and they're going to talk about how they have led, their culture, the disruption, how they've completely transformed their sales and their marketing efforts. We're then going to spend the afternoon together, the 20 of us, if you will, and we're going to lift and shift in the Blinds.com conference room, and we're going to say, all right, what did we learn from Jay and his management team? What's relevant to us? And we're going to leave there with specific action plans for each of us and our businesses that we want to leave there and start implementing. And then we'll have a final discussion with the management team of Blinds.com, and we're going to present back to the management team saying, here, as wholesale distributors, here's what we've heard, and by the way, here's what we're going to take. What do you think? Before we get on the plane, why don't you give us final feedback relative to what we're thinking about leaving here with? So a number of you have said, count me in. We're going to be reaching out to you very shortly. If there's any other individuals on the webinar who are interested in attending, please contact Margie. Her email address is down there. So with that, guys, we've gone over by about 5 minutes. Jerry, Avery, Chris, Paul, thank you very, very much. Love, love, love what you guys are doing. Thank you for sharing here, and really look forward to continuing it. Everybody else online, thank you for being here. Let's keep this conversation going. Have a great rest of the week, everybody.